6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Lal Malavarachi, assisted by Sanjay, and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The President prioritizes peacekeeping in new foreign policy. Digital economic policies to remain unaltered even if governments change. The Interim Secretariat for the Truth and Reconciliation Mechanism conducts public consultation with key stakeholders in Jaffna. Minister Ali Sabri will visit Kathmandu for the Sri Lanka-Nepal Joint Commission's inaugural session from tomorrow. Nearly 4,500 people affected so far due to the inclement weather in the northern province. Foreign news: 8 ISIS terror operatives arrested in India. And sports: 2 Olympic-level hockey turfs will be installed in Colombo and Martale. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe declared a monumental shift in Sri Lanka's foreign policy during a speech at the final presidential Night of Colours re-awarding and commissioning parade held at the Sri Lanka Military Academy in Diyathalawa recently. Departing from the conventional approach of associating peacekeeping solely with the Defence Ministry, the President revealed that peacekeeping is now an integral element of the nation's broader security and foreign policy framework. The President outlined the key components of the new foreign policy, emphasizing a holistic approach that extends beyond traditional political connections. Peacekeeping, climate change, and various other global concerns are now central pillars of Sri Lanka's international relations strategy. Furthermore, President Wickremesinghe highlighted the intricate challenges posed by the transforming global landscape, emphasizing the need for a proactive approach to international relations, and urged a compelling call for the international community to navigate the complexities of the evolving global order with vigilance and proactive mindset. State Minister for Technology Kanaka Herath has articulated his commitment to implementing a steadfast digital economic policy that remains consistent across government transitions. He emphasized that the groundwork for this initiative will commence in the upcoming year with allocated provisions outlined in the 2024 budget. The State Minister made these remarks during a press conference conducted yesterday at the Presidential Media Centre. The State Minister additionally highlighted plans to organize an international investment workshop next year aimed at promoting the digital economy in Sri Lanka. The State Minister highlighted that over 2 billion rupees have been allocated in this year's budget for the digitization and artificial intelligence with the aim of allowing Sri Lankan people to experience the benefits by 2025. The Interim Secretariat for the Truth and Reconciliation Mechanism, ISTRM, has successfully commenced its national provincial public consultations from the northern province Jaffna. The ISTRM convened with key stakeholders including civil society organizations, religious leaders, and academics from the University of Jaffna, grassroots communities and women's rights movements from December 10 to the 12th of December. The ISTRM delegation's visit to Jaffna was aimed at gathering insights and recommendations to formulate a sustainable framework for national unity and reconciliation. Discussions included a comprehensive examination of community challenges and key issues that have been an impediment towards building sustainable peace and reconciliation. The religious leaders of the area conveyed the expectations, views and concerns of the public regarding reconciliation activities, emphasizing the importance of ethnic harmony in the country. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Foreign Minister Ali Sabri will undertake a visit to Kathmandu from tomorrow to the 22nd of this month to attend the inaugural session of the Sri Lanka-Nepal Joint Commission at Foreign Ministers level. The Minister of Foreign Affairs said the Foreign Minister will lead the Sri Lankan delegation and co-chair the inaugural session of the Sri Lanka-Nepal Joint Commission with his counterpart Narayan Prakash South, Foreign Minister of Nepal. The Joint Commission will focus on a range of areas of bilateral cooperation between Sri Lanka and Nepal, including trade and investment, tourism, education, defence, culture, connectivity and people-to-people contacts. During the Joint Commission, a Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in the fields of science, technology and innovation will also be signed, the statement said. The Disaster Management Center says a total of 4,482 people belonging to 1,323 families have been affected by the heavy rains in the northern province. 473 people belonging to 143 families have been affected in the Mullaitivu district due to flash floods. Some 1,626 people were also affected in the Kilinochchi district due to flash floods, while 138 were affected in the Vaunia district and 2,245 in the Mana district, the DMC said. However, no deaths or injuries were reported due to natural disasters. Meanwhile, 1,182 people belonging to 364 families have been sent to 11 safe locations. 14 houses were partially damaged. One incident was reported over damage caused to a small and medium-scale enterprise. Meanwhile, the Irrigation Department has extended amber flood warning for the low-lying areas of the Malwatu Oya as the water levels are on the rise. Accordingly, the warning issued for the Malwatu Oya basin will be extended until 2 p.m. today. The residents and vehicle drivers running through those areas are requested to pay high attention in this regard. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
The Department of Census and Statistics requests the public to provide correct information to the enumerators who visit each household to gather information for the next national census. The census is conducted every 10 years in order to gather information to be used for development purposes. At the first stage, the officials will ask simple questions regarding the members of each family. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatma.
This is Watchlight.
In the wake of the detection of the immune-evasive and fast-spreading variant in Kerala, the health authorities in Sri Lanka have taken note of it and gone on alert. India identified a new COVID subvariant, JN1, in a woman in Kerala. The Union Minister of Health initiated preparedness measures after the case was identified. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 coordinator, Dr. Anwar Hamdani, said the ministry has always been on alert on any new disease as it could pose a threat to Sri Lanka. Dr. Hamdani advises people to seek immediate medical attention if symptoms like fever, runny nose or sore throat persist over 48 hours and promptly cover themselves, wear a mask, minimize the risk of spreading the infection and undergo testing early. And that came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
In the headlines, 8 ISIS terror operatives arrested in India. North Korea fires the most powerful long-range missile after South Korea-US meeting, and British Petroleum pauses all Red Sea shipments after rebel attacks. 8 terrorists linked to an Islamic State module in Karnataka's Ballari have been arrested, and plans to trigger IED blast foiled, the National Investigations Agency said yesterday after raids in 19 locations across 4 states including Mumbai and Pune in Maharashtra and Delhi. Caches of explosive materials such as sulfur, potassium nitrate and gunpowder, as well as weapons and documents with details of proposed strikes have been recovered, the anti-terror agency said. The investigation agency also recovered sharp-edged weapons like daggers, cash and digital devices. South Korean authorities say North Korea has fired its most advanced long-range missile defying UN curbs. The launch of the intercontinental ballistic missile drew immediate condemnation from the West. It landed west of Hokkaido in Japan. It comes after South Korean and US defense officials met last week to update plans on how to respond to a nuclear attack from the north. Pyongyang had vowed to take more offensive countermeasures in response. South Korean and Japanese officials said the missile traveled for 73 minutes, covering about 1,000 kilometers. Oil giant British Petroleum has announced it's pausing all shipments of all oil through the Red Sea after recent attacks on vessels by Houthi rebels. The firm blamed the deteriorating security situation in the region as Iran-backed Houthis target ships they believed are bound for Israel. Many freight firms have suspended journeys as the attacks continue. BP said it would keep its precautionary pause under ongoing review and monitor the region. Back to the headlines of the world news. 8 ISIS terror operatives arrested in India. North Korea fires the most powerful long-range missile after South Korea-US meeting. And British Petroleum pauses all Red Sea shipments after rebel attacks. And that ends world news.
Development news.
The Director of the Irrigation Department, Engineer SPC Sugishwara Bandara, says the total water capacity of irrigation reservoirs have reached 80% with the high rainfall. He said nearly 40 reservoirs maintained by the Irrigation Department have started to spill. The Rajangania Reservoir has considerably high water capacity when compared to the other reservoirs, he said. The water capacity of Mahavali Reservoir has reached 90% and the hydroelectric reservoirs have reached 90%. The water capacity of the Mausakale and Castlereagh reservoirs have reached 100%, while Samanalavar Reservoir has reached 97% of its water capacity. And that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
Minister Harin Fernando has succeeded in securing 2 Olympic-level blue Politan Astro hockey turfs for Sri Lanka through the Asian Hockey Federation. The Director General of Sports, Dr. Shimal Fernando, signed the Memorandum of Understanding on behalf of the Government of Sri Lanka. The President of the Asian Hockey Federation, Fumio Ogura, signed on behalf of the Federation in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, during the AHF Executive Board meeting. The state-of-the-art AstroTurfs will be installed in Colombo and Marthalee. And that was sports news.
Go ekakiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu veena habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Transitional President of West African National Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, invited Sri Lankan businessmen to take advantage of its lucrative mining sector. Burkina Faso has significant reserves of minerals such as gold, copper and zinc. He made this request since Sri Lankan High Commissioner in Kenya, Kana Karanathan, met him recently in a bid to foster bilateral ties. The meeting, held recently at Burkina Faso's Presidential Palace, by discussions emphasizing mutual cooperation and support in international fora. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakiyana youth ekata life ekේ change ekata niyameta set wenna as wahagena dakapu veena habe karanna youth ekata niyameta set wenna friendship එක menna.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
And now in economic news.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said a decentralized budget would be allocated for each district based on the available number of seats starting next year. Starting from next fiscal year, the districts will receive a decentralized budget based on the available number of seats. He said that the upcountry program aimed at supporting isolated mountain villages has commenced, with each divisional secretariat receiving additionally 10 million. Plans are in place to incrementally increase its support. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Showers will occur at times in the northern, north central and eastern provinces. Several spells of showers may occur in the Uva province and in the Hambantota district. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in other areas of the island after 1 p.m. Fairly heavy showers above 75 mm are likely at some places in the western, Sabargama, central and eastern provinces. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabargama, central and southern provinces in the morning. And that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The President prioritizes peacekeeping in new foreign policy. Digital economic policies to remain unaltered even if governments change. The Interim Secretariat for the Truth and Reconciliation Mechanism conducts public consultation with key stakeholders in Jaffna. Minister Ali Sabri will visit Kathmandu for the Sri Lanka-Nepal Joint Commission's inaugural session from tomorrow. Nearly 4,500 people affected so far due to the inclement weather in the northern province. In foreign news, 8 ISIS terror operatives arrested in India, and in sports, 2 Olympic-level hockey turfs will be installed in Colombo and Matale. Well, with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and it's back to sound the thumb on the other side.
Thank you very much, Geetanjali, for the news. Wishing you a safe trip back and also have yourself a fabulous Tuesday. You're tuned to Radio Sri Lanka, the time moving on to a minute after 7. The announcements. We have received for broadcast this morning the obituary of Mrs. Mitrani Smith of Colombo 7. The death is announced of Mitrani Fernando Smith of 82 Vijayaramamavata, Colombo 7. Beloved daughter of Reverend Neville Fernando and Lorna, deceased. Devoted wife of late Bramwell Smith. Loving sister of Shalini and Nirmal. Cherished aunt of Surajni, Dashika, Ashini and Piyusha. Remains at A.F. Raymond's funeral parlour from 8:30 a.m. today. Service 3 p.m. Cortege leaves parlour 4 p.m. Burial at Borella Kanatha, Roman Catholic section. Repeating the obituary you just heard, the death is announced of Mitrani Fernando Smith, 82 Vijayaramamavata, Colombo 7. Beloved daughter of Reverend Neville Fernando and Lorna, deceased. Devoted wife of late Bramwell Smith. Loving sister of Shalini and Nirmal. Cherished aunt of Surajni, Dashika, Ashini and Piyusha. Remains at A.F. Raymond's funeral parlour from 8:30 a.m. today. Service 3 p.m. Cortege leaves parlour 4 p.m. Burial at Borella Kanatha, Roman Catholic section. You're tuned to Radio Sri Lanka.